When I opened my eyes again, I went back to 3 months ago, the day I found out I was pregnant. I held the pregnancy test stick and sat on the toilet for a long time. A beam of light shone in from the small window, and the 2 bars on it were bright and dazzling. The water in the bathroom chiseled my heart again and again, painful and stuffy. The pain of suffocation in my previous life had not yet dissipated, and Jiangshan's voice came from outside the door. "What's wrong?" His usual concise and calm tone. Just half an hour ago, I was still standing at the wedding scene, praying for him to appear countless times. On this day in my previous life, he had just returned from the company and brought me my favorite bread. I rushed out excitedly to hug him and showed him the pregnancy test stick. Jiangshan's expression was very complicated at that time. He held it and stared at it for a long time. "Are you sure?" The joy was stuck in my heart. I felt like I was splashed with a basin of cold water. I put away my smile and asked cautiously, "Don't you want it?" "No." He pursed his lips and looked at me deeply. "We haven't married yet. Can we get married now?" Jiangshan thought for a while. "Yes. Jiangshan and I have been together for 5 years and finally entered the palace of marriage. But when I think of my embarrassment and helplessness at the wedding in my previous life, I was embarrassed to hold a mobile phone in the crowd, praying that he would appear and save me from my predicament, and I felt so uncomfortable that I couldn't breathe. My father had a wife before he married my mother. I don't know their past, nor do I know that Jiangshan has been planning to push me into the abyss since the first day he met me. When Jiangshan pushed the door in, I was pale and huddled in the corner. In the trash bin, there was a pregnancy test stick that I had hidden. His tall figure blocked the light, and he squatted down in front of me, his handsome eyebrows slightly frowned. "What's wrong?" He had a dusty smell on him, and I knew he was very busy and sometimes had no time to take care of me. When we first got together, he was very attentive to me, and I could rely on his love and be unscrupulous. But I don't know since when, he gradually became what he is now: sharp eyebrows, passionate peach blossom eyes, but the bottom of his eyes is dim and obscure, even if he looks at me gently. It seems to contain a lot of things. I gradually restrained my temper and no longer asked him to do something for me capriciously. He loves me, but in the dark, this love seems to be mixed with some other impurities, making me more and more cautious and afraid to touch. When he looked at me like this, did he think that 4 months later, I would become a part of his revenge plan? Lying on the cold operating table, enduring the pain, the placenta of a 4-month-old baby has already formed, so he can only be peeled off from the mother's body alive. What did my father do to offend him that he wanted to take revenge on me so cruelly? Perhaps the memory of the previous life was too embarrassing. This time, I didn't tell him about my pregnancy. I buried my head in my arms, and after a long time, I whispered, "It's okay, I have a stomachache, I will be fine." After lying down for a while, Jiangshan's hand paused, slowly placed it on the top of my head, and gently pinched my ear. His voice, like his fingertips, was not very warm. "Okay." After 5 years of getting along, Jiangshan once said that I was his life. One winter, Nanchang City rarely snowed for half a month. Jiangshan wore a black woolen coat and waited at the subway entrance every evening to pick me up from get off work. Then he would hold my hand and walk under the dim street lights, with the lights on in the distant home. Jiangshan doesn't like snow, but he said, because Yen likes it, I try to like it too. But when did he change? Jiangshan gradually became very busy. Sometimes he would not be home for 3 or 5 days. When it was even worse, he would disappear for a while and hardly reply to text messages, but every time he came back, he became gentle and considerate again. There was hot food on the table and the clothes were washed clean. It was as if he was making up for something. The bedroom door was pushed open, pulling me out of the memory of my previous life. Jiangshan stood at the door. "Yen, I'm going to the company." The company again. Jiangshan forgot again that today was my birthday. In my previous life, I reminded him with dissatisfaction that he should come back early to celebrate my birthday, and Jiangshan agreed. I waited all night with hope, and the candles burned into the cake, leaving 20 black holes. Laughing at my pity and ignorance, since he was destined not to come back, why did he agree? This time, I don't want to ask him to celebrate my birthday again. After a long silence, I suppressed my emotion and silently said, "Okay." There was no movement behind me. Oh, I remembered that every time before leaving, I would give him a kiss. Is he waiting for this? I shrunk into the quilt again to make myself warmer, and whispered, "I'm not feeling well. I'm going to sleep first." "Okay." Jiangshan never forced me. He clicked and closed the door. The sound of a car driving away came from downstairs. The room returned to the dead silence that was crushing. I gathered enough strength, and after a few minutes, I got up, put on my clothes, and walked out the door. In fact, I knew nothing about Jiangshan over the years. He has a company, but he never let me visit him, and he never mentioned meeting his parents. If it weren't for the aunt at the wedding in my previous life who blurted it out, I don't know how long I would be kept in the dark and be a poor guy. 5 years have made me too dependent on him. This time, I want to break this dependence myself. The wind in late autumn is a bit strong, whistling and ruffling my hair. I took a taxi on the side of the road and gave the address. Girl, what are you doing in the old street alone? I used a lot of effort to pull out a far-fetched smile, to pick up my wife from get off work. That is the address of Jiangshan's company. I saw it by chance on Jiangshan's mobile phone in my previous life, otherwise he wouldn't even tell me where the company was. At that time, he disappeared frequently. Often not at home for 3 or 4 days. I thought it was the early stage of entrepreneurship and too busy, but is it really like this? I tightly grasped my handbag, and the blood hit my eardrum, making a thumping sound. The car slowly stopped by the side of the road, and the lights came on. The driver lit a cigarette. Girl, are you sure it's this? It's not an office building, but an apartment. The gray sky loomed over the apartment building, and the sycamore trees in front of the door stood in the autumn wind, depressing and gloomy. The car was heated. I sat in the car, watching Jiangshan and another woman turn out of the alley through the glass. A sharp pain of being torn apart spread throughout my body, constantly tearing my soul. The years of waiting and hope finally became extremely cheap at this moment. The woman was very young and frail. She wore Jiangshan's scarf and her eyes were bright and moving when she smiled. Jiangshan said that he liked the 2 dimples when I smiled. She had them too. She was carrying fresh fruits and vegetables, as well as Jiangshan's favorite beer. Jiangshan followed slowly behind with his hands in his pockets and a fashionable lady's bag hanging on his arm. He watched her walk lightly in his field of vision with a permissive and doting attitude. My heart and eyes were full of her. They talked and laughed all the way and walked into the corridor. The moment he entered the door, the woman turned around, pushed him against the wall, and stood on tiptoe. A gust of wind blew, and the closed security door blocked my view. I could only see the slightly raised red high heels, swaying happily. The car was still flashing, making a clicking sound, and the driver flicked his cigarette butt, and the ash fell along the window gap. Girl, look at it more openly, and break up early. I slowly clenched my hands, and the next second, I suddenly opened the car door and rushed out. Jiangshan, you bastard. The voice was drowned out by the noisy honking, and I stumbled over the manhole cover and fell hard into a pile of dirty fallen leaves, breaking my skin. After the car passed, there was nothing on the bare main road. The security door was blown crooked by the wind. The person who was standing there had disappeared. I felt like I was slapped hard, painful and loud. Finally, the driver helped me into the car. He sighed, it's useless to make a fuss, it will rain, and my mother will get married. People's hearts cannot be controlled. On this birthday, I turned the house upside down, including Jiangshan's study and bedroom. I searched like crazy for evidence of his cheating. I tossed and turned until the early morning, and I collapsed on the ground, holding my aching stomach and curled up, clean and tidy. Not only was there no evidence of cheating, but even the traces of his own life were wiped out. The computer had no password, as if it was a new machine, and there was no search record. I had seen Jiangshan sitting in front of the computer countless times, busy with things, but why did he delete it? The toothbrush, socks, and underwear I bought for him were neatly stacked. In a hidden corner of the study, I saw the gifts I gave to Jiangshan over the years. Most of them were unopened. It was as if he was deliberately erasing the evidence of my existence by his side from the outside world. The warmth and happiness that could be created for a long time suddenly broke apart like bubbles. He pretended to love me. He became a family with another woman behind my back. Really? I lay on the bed, and the doctor pressed the cold probe on my abdomen. It's only been a month now, and it won't be long before you can see the fetal heartbeat. In my previous life, Jiangshan accompanied me on the day I found out I was pregnant. I chattered a lot. He stared at the ultrasound list for a long time and smiled. What can you see clearly with the size of a mung bean? I thought he didn't like children, but later, lying on his belly to listen to the fetal heartbeat became his daily habit. The outcome of the facts was so contradictory to my memory. I could neither convince myself that Jiangshan had never loved me, nor could I convince myself that Jiangshan loved me. The doctor handed me the finished report, which was small and unclear. Just like in my previous life, if you don't want it, tell the doctor over there and ask her to write you an abortion order. Before leaving, she added, girl, remember to bring the father of the child next time. Pregnancy is not the responsibility of one person. I thanked the doctor and walked on the corridor. The afterglow of the setting sun shone in, and I stared at the list for a long time. Suddenly someone bumped into me, and the report was scattered all over the floor. When I squatted down to help her pick up things, I accidentally saw the medical record. The doctor's handwriting was still on it. Pregnancy is not recommended in the short term. When I looked up again, my whole body froze. It was the woman who was with Jiangshin. Thank you, she hurriedly thanked me. Her face was a little pale, as if she had cried. She didn't even look at me when she left. I have read a lot of posts before. Couples who cannot have children will try their best to get their own children through other means. This guess is not absurd. I don't know how I walked out of the hospital. When I was standing on the side of the road, Jiangshin called me. Ian, you're not home, I said with a heavy nasal voice. Well, I have a cold, so I came to the hospital to get medicine, where, listening to his concerned voice, I felt more depressed, as if I was wrapped in an indestructible cocoon and couldn't escape. I took a deep breath. It's okay, I'm almost home, wait for me. I sat on the stone pier downstairs of the hospital for a long time, until I was frozen. Then I stopped a car on the side of the road and went home. It gets dark early in late autumn. When I walked downstairs of my house, I found Jiangshin holding a coat and waiting for me downstairs. Next to me stood the woman. I stopped suddenly, as if my heart was opened and my flesh was torn off bit by bit. It hurt. Jiangshin saw me. His expression relaxed, strode over, and wrapped me with the familiar wool scarf. That's my partner, Changwon. I don't know if it was an illusion, but I smelled the scent of women's cosmetics on the scarf. Changwon just stretched out his hand. Hello, I am. Suddenly, a wave of nausea surged from my stomach, and I knelt beside the flower bed, desperately retching. At this moment, I wanted to shout and ask Changwon to go away, and Jiangshin to go away too. Changwon looked at me from the side. Jiangshin squatted beside me, patted my back, unscrewed a bottle of water, and asked, "Are you still uncomfortable?" That kind of gentleness came again, enough to deceive many girls. Extreme details. Look at his eyes, they are clearly full of me. I took a breath, suddenly took off the scarf roughly and stuffed it into him. I don't like wearing scarves. Jiangshin's hands froze, slowly rolled up the scarf, turned around and squatted in front of me. Okay, I'll carry you upstairs. I really had no strength, and I lay softly on his back. Jiangshin's steps were very steady, and his breath sprayed on my ears. In the past, I loved the feeling of him carrying me. 2 or 3 years ago, I would happily lie on him and ask him to walk faster. Jiangshin would smile and say, "Little ancestor, you can't walk fast like this, you have to shout for help." Now that I think about it, it was a long time ago. Now, all I can do is resist. Changwon followed behind me. Several times, I noticed her staring at me with my peripheral vision. That look seemed to treat me as an item to be sold. I thought, I should leave. The lights were on at home. The table was set with food and a delicate little cake in the middle. Jiangshin opened the candle package and stuck 24 candles on it. "I didn't accompany you yesterday, Yen. I will make it up to you today." Because of Changwon's arrival, I couldn't say a word. She sat opposite me and looked at me with a smile. "I heard that it's your birthday today. Can you drink?" I shook my head. She raised her glass with some regret and said to me lightly, "Happy birthday." I suddenly felt a little ironic. What qualifications did she have to come to me hypocritically and wish me a happy birthday after hanging out with Jiangshin all night? I stood up, feeling like I was stuck in my throat. "I feel uncomfortable. I'll take a rest first." Looking at the untouched dishes on the table, Jiangshin pursed his lips and said, "I'll take you to the house. It means that he will come out again." "No need." I left his support. "I'll go in by myself." The last ray of light, accompanied by the sound of the door closing, was swallowed by the darkness. I leaned against the door, took a deep breath, and the 5 years of light and shadow with Jiangshin flashed before my eyes. When I had menstrual cramps, he ran out in the rain to buy medicine. When the car fell into the river that year, Jiangshin carried me on his shoulders and told me not to worry about him and grabbed the lifebuoy. When I had a high fever, he carried me to 3 hospitals and didn't sleep all night. I don't want to believe that he will fall in love with another person. Just like at the beginning, I couldn't believe why a person could love me with his life. It took me 3 years to convince myself that I was a lucky person. It took me another 2 years to personally remove this belief from the bottom of my heart. I leaned against the door, which was not soundproof, and I could hear the conversation outside. Changwon's voice was so low that it was almost inaudible. "You have to think carefully about our next plan." Jiangshin was silent for a long time.
Yeah,
I know, can't bear to leave, Changwon chuckled. Just this time, it will get better in the future. Changwon left. There was only a dim light in the living room. Jiangshan sat in a chair with his back to me, half of his face immersed in the moonlight, distant and cold. I stood at the door of the bedroom, holding the report in my hand, and walked in front of Jiangshan. He was a little tired, and the moment he saw me, he blinked. You didn't eat much tonight. I sat down on the chair opposite him. I want to eat noodles. Okay, I'll make it. Jiangshan stood up and packed up his things. Among the leftovers was the small cake that hadn't been touched. He cleaned up everything, leaving only the cake, and held it in front of me. Ian, I haven't wished you a happy birthday yet. He leaned over, lifted my hair, and kissed me. This is how he coaxes me every time he makes a mistake. I understand the look in his eyes. Guilt. This guilt is more painful than killing me. I look up, and my voice is hoarse. Jiangshan, what did you do wrong again? He was stunned. His eyes moved away instantly, and he focused on lighting the candles. Ian, don't think about it. Have a good birthday tonight. But my birthday was yesterday. I clenched my hands tightly. And the report I wanted to take out to show him was crumpled into a piece of rotten paper. Where did you go yesterday? Jiangshan frowned slightly, paused, and his eyes gradually cooled down. I was at the company. I stared into his eyes through the flickering candlelight and said word by word, no. 43 Heian Street, your company, right, a shabby apartment building, and a beautiful female employee. Jiangshan's face changed, and he suddenly put the cake heavily on the table and shouted. Enough. He stood up. His eyes were like ice. Ian, don't do this again next time. I was stunned, because Jiangshan had never yelled at me like this, so I was wrong. The tears that I had held back for a long time finally fell. I trembled my lips, smashed the cake, and shouted hysterically, should I apologize for finding you kissing someone else? The red ribbon of the cake collapsed to the ground weakly. The owner of that cake shop would tie a red ribbon on every female customer who came to buy a cake. This was the first time I yelled at Jiangshan like a shrew. Even if you want to buy a cake for me, you have to ask her to do it for you. I was so angry that I was shaking all over and talking incoherently. What am I? Am I a reproductive tool raised by you and your original wife? Or a fool who was fooled around? Jiangshan's face was ashen, and he clenched his fists tightly and leaned on the table. His joints were white. His forehead was throbbing with veins, and the next second, before he was about to quarrel with me, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Ian, it's not what you think. Let's not quarrel, okay? I threw the report at his feet. Okay, you explain. Then there was silence. He bent down to pick up the report. The B ultrasound picture was reflected in his pupils, and his fingertips trembled slightly. Joy or fear? I couldn't read his complicated eyes. After a long silence, he called me, Ian. In fact, I understood everything. Jiangshan slowly flattened the report and put it on the table. I can't marry you. This sentence was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Not only now, in the previous life. Jiangshan never thought of marrying me. What am I expecting? Things have developed to this point. Does Jiangshan have any difficulties? What kind of difficulties can make him cheat a girl of 5 years of youth? We are over. I put on my clothes silently, picked up my small suitcase, and stood at the door. Jiangshan, I have suffered enough retribution. Let's break up. My best friend Yaya drove a small car to pick me up. She pushed me into the car first, turned back and glared at Jiangshan. The wind was a little strong, and she probably cursed twice before getting in the car. When the car started, I saw Jiangshan standing at the gate. A light shone from behind, stretching his shadow very long. Scumbag, what a thing. Yaya started the car while cursing. Jiangshan in the mirror became smaller and smaller, and finally melted into the night. You should beat your child early. The older the month, the more you will suffer, Yaya advised me while driving. How could I not know? But when you are used to the company of a person and suddenly withdraw from it, it will be extremely painful. My thoughts were very chaotic. I leaned against the window and fell asleep unknowingly. In my dream, I went back to the past. Jiangshan took me for a drive on the coastal highway. The sun was very strong that day. I wore a straw hat and stuck my head out to feel the sea breeze. Jiangshan smiled and said, sit tight. If you fall down later, I won't save you. Then the next moment, a large truck suddenly lost control, hit the car body, and pushed us into the sea. Water poured into my 7 orifices. I couldn't swim and struggled hard in it. At the critical moment, Jiangshan stuck to my waist and lifted me out of the water with force. The waves were very strong, and I, a landlubber, was struggling helplessly in the water. A fishing boat in the distance dropped a life buoy. Jiangshan pushed me over there. Ian, push on my shoulders, go forward, yes. Reach the life buoy and put it on your body. What about you? I wanted to pull him along, but he pushed my hand away. The waves are big, and the two of us are too slow. I'm afraid we can't swim up. Don't worry about me. The next second, a wave came over, and Jiangshan disappeared. Jiangshan. I woke up suddenly and found myself still lying in my bestie's car, which had just passed an intersection. Yaya reminded casually, you just broke up with him. I don't know when it started raining outside the car window. Since the beginning of autumn, it has been getting colder day by day. I remembered that day when Jiangshan was hit by a wave. Later, the fisherman found him holding on to the horizontal ladder of the boat, half of his body soaked in water, and he almost lost his strength. Jiangshan had just climbed up and rolled onto the deck, with the bright sunlight covering his pale face without any obstruction. I knelt beside him. Crying almost to death, Jiangshan hooked his arm around my neck, pulled me down, and kissed me passionately. He said, Ian, I will always love you. Squeak, a loud whistle brought me back to my thoughts. Jiangshan disappeared. There were only the red brake lights in front and the dense autumn rain. Ian. Everything will pass.
Yeah.
Everything will pass. I shrank my body. Next week, we will abort the child. This life that I had been looking forward to for 4 months should say
goodbye
to him. I saw Changwon again 2 weeks later. When Yaya accompanied me home from the hospital, I happened to see her coming out of the clinic. She had a happy look on her eyebrows and thanked the doctor inside repeatedly. The doctor advised, don't do strenuous exercise in the early stages of pregnancy. And couples should also be careful. The voice seemed to come from far away.
Ah.
It turns out they have a child. What a coincidence. I just had my own child aborted. Changwon didn't notice me and turned and walked down the stairs. Yaya touched me. Ian, you're still not feeling well. Don't stand for too long. Let's go home. I didn't tell my parents about this. They have been honest all their lives, because of getting pregnant before marriage. I have been scolded by them for a long time in my previous life, and I don't want to be scolded by them again. Yaya's car was parked in the parking lot behind the hospital, passing an outdoor passage. I met Jiangshan in the late autumn weather. He stood at the wind outlet, wrapped in a black jacket. It seems that I bought it for him last year. He was straight, leaning against the outer wall, with his eyes downcast, like a husband waiting for his wife's pregnancy test results. When I wanted to leave, he had already seen me. He straightened up instantly. The wind blew the report in his hand and made it rustle. Neither he nor I spoke for a while. Yaya sighed. Let's ignore him, child. Jiangshan hesitated, staring at me with his black eyes, his face pale. I stuffed the report into his coat pocket and raised my red eyes. I aborted the child. I wanted to take revenge on him, but I choked up when I spoke. Jiangshan was stunned for a while, then slowly took out the report from his coat, lowered his head, and unfolded it. After the abortion, click, something fell on the back of his hand. Jiangshan didn't say a word for a long time. Ridiculous? Was he heartbroken? The wind was a little cold. I wrapped my coat tightly and passed him by. Behind me, I heard his stiff voice. Ian, don't contact me anymore. I didn't stop, but tears fell. Jiangshan, why are you here? It's too cold. Where is the car? Changwon ran out from nowhere, talking to himself, and then stopped abruptly. Maybe he saw my back. Let's go. It was Jiangshan's voice. I quickened my pace and got into Yaya's car. Yaya was so angry that she cursed. What a thing. You said Jiangshan graduated from Jiangnan University of Finance and Economics, right? My cousin is there. I'll report this to the school. Let his teacher see what kind of beast he has taught. I looked at the end of the passage just now, and there was no one. After the abortion, I didn't have much appetite. I had a mouthful of hot porridge for dinner and quickly filled my stomach. Yaya talked to her cousin on the balcony all afternoon. When she came back, her expression was a little serious. Are you sure Jiangshan graduated from Jiangnan University of Finance and Economics? I swallowed the last mouthful slowly. Yes, my cousin said that there was no one named Jiangshan in their graduation class. Yaya muttered, you were deceived. A bitter taste spread from the tip of the tongue and spread throughout the mouth. Yaya asked me for the graduation photos. There were hundreds of people, and I looked at them one by one. Jiangshan was not in it. I was completely deceived by him. Call the police. Yaya's eyes were red. This is already considered a scam. That night, I called my mother. Did my father have an ex-wife? There was silence for a long time, and suddenly the tone was cold. Ian, if you want to do good for our family, don't ask. I fell into confusion, sitting in the dark, unable to see anything clearly. It doesn't really make much sense to prove that Jiangshan deceived me. I just was unwilling to accept it, because I had a miscarriage. I stayed at home for a full month, by the time I recovered and had the strength, winter had already arrived. The winter in the South City is cold and damp, and the moisture penetrates into my bones along with the wind. I sat by the window with a thick scarf wrapped around my neck. And the teacher's chalk squeaked on the blackboard. I was preparing for the postgraduate entrance examination again. Yaya said that if I really couldn't get out of it, I would just study. It gets dark early in November. Through the window glass, I can see my face reflected on it. I haven't thought about Jiangshan for 3 days, not even in my dreams. It's always not easy at the beginning. Every night, I can dream about Jiangshan and my past. The first time he took me skiing, the first time he took me lurking, the first time he gave me the life buoy to let me live. In 5 years, he instilled in me countless times the concept of living well. He said no less than 10,000 times that if my life is in danger, I should run away by myself. Yaya wants to delete our chat history. The second before she pressed the delete key, I burst into tears. Yaya, I can't get out of this. As Yaya said, all betrayals or lack of love have traces, but the Jiangshan in this past has always loved me. I can't figure it out. She can't figure it out either. Fortunately, it's not something that will kill you if you can't figure it out. The schoolwork is heavy, and I often stay up late until midnight. I want to go to places outside of South City and meet people from all over the world. In the early morning of one day in late November, I suddenly received a string of unfamiliar phone numbers. The phone vibrated, my heart jumped and I picked it up. No one spoke. I pinched the pen. Jiangshan. There was a whistling sound of wind from the other side, and it hung up quickly. I knew it was him, staring at the darkened phone screen. I was stunned for a long time. Yaya was sleeping on her back, mumbling and turning over. I called back, but the phone was turned off. The electronic calendar on the table changed to November 29th. It was our original wedding date. Time flies. It has been 3 months since we broke up, although it is difficult to get out of a relationship, fortunately. Everything is moving in a good direction. I am working hard. The next day is a day off. Yaya dragged me to the garden hall to check in, because she was getting married next month and wanted to check the venue. Garden hall. It seems that I haven't thought about this place for a long time. In my previous life, I was abandoned by Jiangshan here. I was 4 months pregnant and had nowhere to hide in the mocking eyes of everyone. I have to say that the garden hall is a favorite place for young couples. It is open air and Western style. In summer, there are clusters of flowers, and in winter, they are replaced by pots of flowers shipped from the greenhouse. Romantic and fashionable. Yaya is still booking a date with the venue manager. The person in charge shook his head. No, we are too full, ma'am. There is really no way to advance. Yaya pointed at the empty venue with dissatisfaction. I think there is no one today. Don't ask for a high price to frame me. The person in charge said awkwardly, someone has booked it today. You are lying. It's already 10 o'clock. Where are the people? I don't know. I sat under the flower stand, curled up in my down jacket, staring at the venue in a daze. In my previous life, in order to grab today's day, Jiangshan and I paid the deposit before another couple when we just found out that we were pregnant. At that time, the wedding company specially arranged the wedding scene according to my preferences. Now it seems that it may be a commercial template. After all, the scene in front of me is the same as mine at the beginning. No integrity. I exhaled a breath of hot air and rubbed my hands. The assistant was whispering to the person in charge. Mr. Jiang said that there is no bride today, so he will come by himself. I slowly stopped and looked at the person who was talking. Mr. Jiang, let's go. Ian, let's go to another place. Yaya came to pull me. Obviously looking annoyed that the negotiation was not concluded, the person in charge was still arguing with the assistant, yelling, what a waste of venue without a bride. Marry yourself. I stood up with a heavy heart, and was pulled by Yaya to walk a few steps, and suddenly stopped. I want to sit here for a while, or you can go first. Are you not feeling well? Yaya looked worried. I'll take you home first. No, I smiled. There's an acquaintance over there. I'll say hello. Yaya nodded, then contact later. The person in charge walked away cursing, and I sat down in an inconspicuous corner, with my hands in my pockets, like a crazy detective, staring at the open-air auditorium in the distance without blinking. Half an hour later, I saw Jiangshan. He was thinner, and his eyes were dark. He was wearing a suit and tie, and a groom's knot was tied around his neck. There was a buzz in my head. I stood up and walked forward a few steps slowly. He was wearing the clothes I designed in my previous life. The collar buttons were the same, standing at the end of the corridor, looking far away at the end, like a belated groom. At that moment, I vaguely saw myself holding the phone, at a loss, standing where he could see, calling Jiangshan's name. The two scenes finally converged. Jiangshan took out the ring and raised it. Ian, will you marry me? The wind suddenly stopped, a trace of pain suddenly came out from my heart and hit my chest. And it became more and more intense. I stood behind Jiangshan and watched him mutter to himself in the air. He still didn't notice, holding the ring, with a blank look on his face. What was he waiting for? Waiting for me? Jiangshan raised it for a while, and finally lowered his head helplessly and sighed. I wanted to put it on you myself, but I didn't realize it until I died. You must be very sad to be carrying a 4-month-old baby. I suddenly grabbed the decorative vines and trembled all over. Jiangshan, also reborn, or has he died once? The cold air poured into my nose, and I felt like I fell into an ice cellar. I heard his trembling voice. I'm sorry, Ian, he cried, lowered his head and wiped his tears. I took 2 steps and opened my mouth. The next moment, Jiangshan's cell phone rang in his suit pocket. He answered the phone, rubbed his face, and said hoarsely, okay, I'll be back in the team right away. I felt like I was poured with a bucket of cold water. And the contraction started from my throat and gradually twisted to my heart. Finally, I watched him carefully put the ring into his arms and turned to leave without saying a word. I came out of the garden auditorium and bumped into several people on the way. They cursed casually. You have no eyes. You hit someone but didn't apologize. During the rush hour, the traffic was busy, the traffic lights were dazzling, the car horns were piercing, and gradually transformed into a strange and bizarre scene in my senses. And finally only tinnitus remained. On the big screen at the intersection, a news report was scrolling. I raised my head numbly, and the news report was imprinted in my eyes. A vicious incident of injuring police officers occurred in this city, and 3 policemen died on duty. One was a square-faced uncle, and the other one is tall and dark-skinned, and the other is a young man. They also have names, Li Xiaowen, Fang Yu, and Zhao Ling. I stared at them for a while, then fell to the side of the road with a plop, and could not hear anything. 9. Before marriage in the previous life, that day, when Jiangshan returned home, there were many photos on the table. A yen sat on the carpet next to the coffee table and blinked. Look. There are many photos of you here. You always say you have no friends. Jiangshan hung his woolen coat on the rack at the door, took off his tie, sat down next to a yen, and hugged her. They are all from the past. Nothing to see. A yen lay in Jiangshan's arms with peace of mind. How come you don't have any nostalgia? She pulled out a photo. Who are these 2 uncles and the young man? Jiangshan was silent. They are all brothers who started a business together. Ian sighed sadly. It is said that businessmen value profit. Could it be that we have broken up and we are no longer brothers? No, Jiangshan smiled. We are on different paths. If several companies are mixed together, I will have to drag them into the water if I get into trouble one day. Ian thought this excuse was funny. Are you a gangster, so you don't want to associate with me? It's better not to associate with me. She really couldn't understand Jiangshan's logic, and murmured with her arms crossed, why are you unreliable? Oh, if we stop being brothers, my girlfriend won't be dragged into this. Jiangshan's face tightened. No. Ian smiled and sat on Jiangshan's lap, holding his neck, and said softly, brother, do you love me so much? Jiangshan's ears turned red, and he put Ian into his eyes seriously. He touched her head and repeated, I will never drag Ian into this. Ian suddenly had an idea and moved closer to him. What if it really happens? I will be unlucky. Jiangshan thought seriously for a while. Then we won't have any contact? This was the most angry Ian had ever been since they started dating. She twisted Jiangshan's arm and scolded, you stubborn guy. It's not a matter of life and death. Why do you have to break off contact with me? Jiangshan was stunned by the scolding. He curved his lips and wanted to kiss her, but a yen dodged him in anger and continued to scold. Even if you break off contact, I will stick to you, unless you really don't love me anymore. Jiangshan was amused by her. Just say this. I have to believe it too. A yen pinched Jiangshan's ear and bit it unsatisfied. Our brother loves me so much. His eyes are full of love. How is it possible? Jiangshan didn't say anything, but stared at the photo of the 4 of them in a trance. The photo lay quietly on the table. From the left, it was Jiangshan, Li Xiaowen, Fang Yu and Zhao Ling, who was still in college. When I was brought back by Yaya from the traffic police, because I sat slumped on the side of the road, like a fool, motionless in the half-hour alternation of red and green lights, Yaya apologized to the traffic police outside and got in the car. Ian, what happened to you today? She fastened my seatbelt. Will Jiangshan come to PUAU again? There were still mud marks on my face, and I was dirty, as if I had been drained of strength. I leaned against the glass window. Does your cousin know anyone from the police academy? Yes. What's wrong? Please help me find Jiangshin. In the rearview mirror, my face was pale. Yaya paused while fastening the seatbelt, and seemed to realize something, and her face changed. Okay, this time. It was Yaya's cousin who called me personally. He knew that Jiangshin and I had a special relationship. The first sentence was, "Don't ask." I clenched my phone tightly, my head hurting. No. Or don't ask. My cousin paused for a moment and said the last sentence. They know you, let me tell you, don't ask. My chest seemed to be hollowed out, empty. I had a quarrel with Jiangshin not long ago, but I couldn't remember it clearly. Instead, the memory of my previous life emerged very clearly. I will never drag a yen down. This sentence finally tore open the gap in my heart and sprinkled salt on the wound. I was torn to pieces in the contradiction between reality and intuition. Until this moment, I finally found the answer, the secret hidden behind Jiangshin. What if it really happens? I will be unlucky then we won't keep in touch. Some things suddenly became clear. In the previous life, Jiangshin died on the way to the wedding, and he came back. He knew the ending, so this time, he didn't soften his heart. Ian, I think you've changed. Yaya leaned her head on the table, with cold soy milk in front of her, since I received that call. I have become extremely calm. I often stare out the window alone, or hold a spoon, not moving for a long time. Yeah, I'll move out recently. What do you mean? Is my home not good? She frowned, holding the boiled egg, and forgot to eat it. Or you and Jiangshin have reconciled again. Don't think too much. I want to study with peace of mind. I slowly drank a sip of cold soy milk and smiled. Recently, the study tasks are heavy. I may be out of contact for a while. Can you help me take care of my parents? Look at what you said, our friendship. Why are you polite? She waved her hand. You are going to be admitted to graduate school, pissing Jiangshin off. Not long after, I moved into an apartment, about 50 square meters, just enough for one person. I bought all the pots and pans myself. I bought 2 sets. Just like when I lived with Jiangshin, I like to stand in front of the window and watch people. And I also like to open the dialogue box between Jiangshin and me late at night and stare at it. I don't know what I am waiting for. A week passed quietly. Time seemed to stand still, so I walked into the police station. On Wednesday afternoon, near the end of the get-off workday, a young policeman received me. Excuse me, are you having any trouble? I lowered my head and wrote a series of license plate numbers on a piece of paper. Please check this. What's wrong? He took it, looked at it, and asked, is it a hit and run? I sat in front of the police and clenched my hands. I don't know. It could be a repeat offender, it could be a drug dealer, or it could be nothing. This was the truck that broke through the guardrail and hit me before I died in my previous life. During this period, my father dodged twice, but he locked onto it again. It seemed it was coming for me. The policeman opposite probably thought I was a mentally ill person. He looked at me carefully for a while. You should know the price of making a false alarm. I nodded. Please. He walked in, and after a while, several people came. Come with us. In just a few months, I met Chungwon again. Her belly was a little bigger, and she personally poured me a cup of hot water, and then sat down opposite me. Where did you get this license plate number? I can't say. Changwon collected the things. Okay, I know. It's getting late. You should go back early. I sat there without moving. I know what you want to ask. You and Jiangshin have broken up. She thought about it and reminded me. Keep yourself out, understand. I curved my lips and smiled. My eyes were a little sore. I understand. I won't cause trouble for him, if in the future. I didn't finish, but looked at Changwon eagerly. People have to come back alive, right? The moment our eyes met, she quickly lowered her eyes and took my water cup away. It's getting late, let's go back. I felt like I fell into a bottomless well, falling down non-stop. Before leaving, I pointed at her belly. Changwon exclaimed, his eyes slightly red. It's not his, it's the child's father. You should have seen him on the news not long ago. The air in December was a little colder. Walking on the road in the South City, there were few pedestrians. A few scattered plastic bags were wrapped in rain and stuck to the ground. When pressed by passing vehicles, they looked like crushed crispy shrimp chips. I thought of Jiangshin's fried shrimp chips again. He likes to fry them with soybean oil because I love the taste of soybean oil, but Jiangshin always complains that it has a bean smell. It's obviously his picky taste. I also said that in the future, the child must not be like him, so as not to make it difficult to raise. The sky was gray. I raised my head, opened my mouth, and blew towards the sky to hold back the hot tears that were about to roll out of my eyes. Perhaps because of the funny thing, I attracted the laughter of several children on the roadside. I couldn't find Jiangshan, and I couldn't call him, just like when he went to the company in the past. I couldn't visit him on set, I just had to wait quietly, when I was free. I always had to find something to do, so that night, I curled up on the sofa and opened the post I wrote that year, My Daily Life with Mr. J. I met Mr. J in the cinema. I still remember that the movie was called Operation Mekong. When I walked out of the cinema, I cried so badly that I even sneezed and my snot sprayed on the neck of the person in front of me. You guessed it right, that person was Mr. J. It was really embarrassing at that time. I forgot to cover my mouth when I sneezed for the first time, not because of my poor quality. Mr. J had an expression on his face that he wanted to laugh but couldn't, and took out a pack of toilet paper. Stop crying, wipe your nose. He was really handsome, much taller than me, wearing a dark brown leather jacket, with messy black hair. My first time being socially dead. After I wiped my nose, I secretly glanced at him several times. I felt that he didn't have a girlfriend. Otherwise, how could he stand there patiently and wait for me to finish wiping? The OP was very timid, but for the first time, he bravely asked for WeChat. The amazing thing is that he gave it to me. Mr. J was really hard to flirt with at first. Basically, he would reply to me once every 3 sentences I said. But I was persistent since I was a child, looking for him every day. Mr. J later commented on my behavior at that time, which was called pestering. I said, "Why do you fall for this, Mr. J?" ignored me. Sisters misunderstood. It's not that he doesn't like me, he is just shy. Dividing line. Here I go again. I had a quarrel with Mr. J after being with him for about a week. The reason was that he disappeared for 3 days and didn't reply to my messages. I'm quite insecure. When I was a kid, whatever I got was always taken away by someone else. Maybe that's my constitution. I didn't get along well with my previous boyfriends. They always left me for some ridiculous reasons. For example, the goddess came back. For example, he didn't like women. In short, there would always be a third person in my relationship. So when Mr. J disappeared for 3 days, I automatically broke up with him. When I was packing my luggage that day, he came back. I thought he was sick at the time. I ignored him. Mr. J went into the kitchen and was cooking from the sound. I swear I really glanced at him accidentally. Damn, this guy seemed to have been beaten. Forgive me for not being able to help it. I spoke first. Mr. J said that he had encountered some troubles. He opened a company and his career was just starting. It was normal for him to be bullied. I asked him why he didn't reply to my message. Mr. J said that his phone was broken by someone and he couldn't see it. Oh my god, what does he do? Isn't it illegal? Dividing line. Thanks to my sister for the suggestion. Mr. J has memorized my phone number. In the future, even if the phone is thrown into the Pacific Ocean, you can still contact me. It's really not easy for young people nowadays. Starting a business is all over the place and you can't see anyone. Seriously warn all sisters, Taurus can be found, but they are really ambitious. So angry. Mr. J's birthday is next week, and I have prepared a big surprise. I hope he is in good health. Live a long life. Dividing line. Shocked sisters. Mr. J took me out for a ride. The coastline is so beautiful. I will post pictures for you later. Dividing line. Sorry for disappearing for so long. I encountered a small accident and I am in the hospital. I will continue to update my daily life after I recover. As for the coastline, hey, don't mention it. Woohoo, a car is so expensive. Dividing line. We didn't break up. Don't guess blindly. We are still in a good relationship. Mr. J is a warm-hearted man who looks cold but is actually warm-hearted. I used to not believe in love, but when I really met him, I was still moved. What should I do? I want to get married, but he doesn't seem to have that intention. Dividing line. Sorry, it's been so long since I came online. It's been almost 2 years, right? Well, the relationship is very stable. Thank you all for your blessings. The main thing is that the life of a young couple is a bit shameless, and I'm afraid of being censored if I write it out. I can only say that Mr. J is super awesome. He seems to be secretly working out. It's said that Taurus men are wife slaves, and I've noticed this trend recently. I'm too lazy, and I may not update frequently in the future. We'll see each other again if we're lucky. Time stopped a year ago, and many people below urged me to update. Squat down, wish 99 good luck. The host is a lucky fish. I shared this post and got together with the person I like. It turns out that Jiangshan and I have so many memories. After a year, I started updating again. I'm married to Mr. J. We got married with a baby. It's a bit too much, mister. Jay has been on a business trip recently, and he calls me every day to let me know he's safe. I hope he can come back soon. There was a reply below very quickly. The missing person has returned. Wow, the CP I'm chasing has finally come to fruition. I want to eat candy. How many months is the baby? My fingertips stayed on the screen for a while, and slowly typed, 4 months. Congratulations, I'm also 4 months. The comment area was full of laughter, and I sat in the dark. For a moment, it seemed as if I had really become the person in the post. I received a private message, have fun, OP, thank you, you too. He just left last week, so I'm jealous of you, just left.
Yeah.
He went to heaven. I hesitated for a long time and typed 2 words, my condolences, then I turned off the screen in a panic. That night, I had a dream, on a sea, the waves were huge and the sea breeze was gentle. The bright sunshine sprinkled on my body, warm. I thought I had dreamed of the scene of escaping death again, but when I turned my head, I saw Jiangshan standing on the deck, waving at me. I was a little embarrassed, because I remembered that I had broken up with him. What should I say first? Anyway, I have to say something, Ian, I have to go. My words were blocked in my throat by him, and it took me a few minutes to figure out what Jiangshan was saying. Where are you going? Jiangshan didn't say anything, but just opened his arms. Come here, hug me. I was stunned, feeling something was wrong, and then a huge fear swept over me. I started crying before I said anything. My nose was sore, and I threw myself into Jiangshan's arms, crying, I won't let you go. Jiangshan kissed me. You're not beautiful when you cry. Our Yen is the most beautiful when she smiles. I hugged him tightly. Then I'll smile for you. Will you stay? I cried and laughed at the same time, desperately wiping away my tears. Look, I'm not crying, I'm smiling. Yen, Jiangshan touched my face regretfully. I haven't celebrated your birthday yet, and it may be too late now. I want to wish you a happy 100th birthday in advance. No, I sobbed, don't live 100 years. I don't want to live 100 years. Jiangshan's mouth moved, and suddenly a tear fell. I'm sorry, Yen. A drop of blood started from his left shoulder and gradually spread, then several flowers, connected into a piece, like a mountain full of crabapples. Gradually, my vision began to blur. The sea breeze brought salty water vapor, and I was like a blind person, clinging to everything I could sense. He was disappearing. I cried out in despair, and my arms tightened, finally. I only heard him coaxing me softly in my ear, be good, marry someone else. Dawn was approaching. I sat in the darkness that drowned people, typing frantically on the screen of my phone. Tears dripped onto the screen, blurring the words, Mr. Jay called me just now. He will be back tomorrow. I had a nightmare and woke up in shock. They say dreams are the opposite of reality, but fortunately, I want to prepare a surprise for him. Do you have any suggestions, sisters? The night was slowly getting long, and everyone was asleep. All I got in response was silence. Until the dawn in the east, I mechanically put on my clothes like a puppet and went to the police station. It was too early, the street lights were not turned off yet. I stood at the door in the cold wind. My hands and feet were cold. In fact, I didn't know what I was waiting for, but I was waiting anyway. Maybe in the next second, Jiangshan would appear on the corner of the street. I remembered that day in the garden auditorium. If I could call him and say something to him, would I not have to wait so long? I took out my phone and flipped through the posts. How to get my ex-boyfriend back. Send a text first, but I didn't dare to send it. I edited a paragraph. What are you doing? I miss you. My finger finally stopped at the send button, but didn't press it. I'd better wait a little longer. Jiangshan still needs to sleep. I'll send it when it's dawn. Dawn is approaching. The moment the street lights went out, a black car turned from the intersection. The gravel road creaked under the tires. I held my phone tightly and stared at it motionlessly. The car slowly stopped in front of the police station, and 4 men got out of the car. It was almost dawn, and 4 people, through the night, walked towards me. They were all unfamiliar faces, walking in unison. I clenched my hands, breathing rapidly, my lips trembling, and hot blood hitting my eardrums. On the verge of suffocation, they walked in front of me and saluted together. The phone fell to the ground with a click, and the screen broke into pieces. That message was never sent out in the end. The early morning of December 13th, 2021 was the coldest time of the winter. I knelt on the frost-covered ground and cried bitterly. Jiangshan, he left me. When there is no name on Jiangshan's tombstone, it snowed on the day of the memorial service. I walked all the way from the gate. The ground was muddy. And my boots were stained beyond recognition. I kept crying, as if I had shed all the tears in this life. After the memorial service, Changwon called me. He has no relatives, and there are some things that I think should be given to you. Changwon's belly was much bigger, and she struggled to open the trunk, which was full of things related to me that Jiangshin had hidden. He hid it well, and that group of people didn't find you. Changwon dragged out the things he had sorted out. Now it's returned to the original owner. My voice was hoarse. I thanked him woodenly, and took the things. There's one more thing. Changwon dug in his pocket and took out a wedding ring. I found it on him. It was the ring he held in his hand when I last saw Jiangshin. I took out the ring and put it on my ring finger. It's just right since I was a kid. Changwon hesitated. You can find another one. I raised the back of my hand. I've been married. I won't look for another one. Her words were stuck in her throat, and she finally sighed. Actually, I think he's still quite cruel. In the past few months, he's been crazy trying to draw a line with you. Sometimes, she hesitated a little. I even suspect that if he doesn't do this, you'll die. I stood in the cold wind, without saying a word. Ian, do you know something? Changwon frowned. The license plate number you gave me last time was correct. Without you, we might have lost more people. And the first time he and I went on a mission and pretended to be a couple. How come you just happened to be there? If you know, you must tell. Do you believe in rebirth? I interrupted her. Changwon choked, obviously not believing it. I said to myself, at first, I felt that it was a gift from God to me to start over. I guess Jiangshin felt the same way at that time, but I was doing it for myself and he was doing it for me. Changwon, I have never felt so despicable. Why do people's memories become particularly clear at a certain moment later? Jiangshin seemed to cry on the day of the abortion, and the day before the wedding, he called me. The next day, he stood at the wedding scene and confessed to the heir. Do you think if I could stand out and keep him at that time, would he not die? But I didn't dare to. I guessed what kind of person he was. I was afraid of ruining his plan. I always thought there would be a chance in the future. I really looked forward to it. Okay, so that we can talk it out, we can still be together. Anyway, there have been so many times. I will wait once more, just once. I didn't make a fuss, nor did I call Jiangshin. I think he will be successful. How can I not beat him again? Changwon. I just stood in front of his tombstone, and I couldn't figure out what I should do to change this ending. If death can change everything, I decided to give it a try. Changwon patted my shoulder. His eyes were a little serious. It's not your fault, Jiangshin said. He is most afraid of you feeling guilty. There are some things that he chooses not to let you know, so you can't know. Ian, you should be more open-minded. In a few days, I will take you to the psychology department. You must be treated. The gap that had just opened a little suddenly closed. I am much more sober. Yes, Jiangshin is dead, and there is no one in this world who understands me anymore. Okay, I touched the ring. I want to ask, when he left, Changwon swallowed, quite peaceful, didn't suffer. She lowered her eyes in a hurry. I have something else to do. I'm leaving first. I held a box of Jiangshin's belongings and stared blankly in the direction she left. My eyes were red and swollen, and I couldn't cry a single tear. Turning around, my parents were waiting for me outside with umbrellas. My father held a bouquet of flowers in his hand and placed it next to Jiangshin. Mother and son are reunited. Xiaohe, now someone is with you. There was no name on the tombstone called Xiaohe. My mother stood behind and rubbed her red eyes. Sister Hehe, I'm sorry. I only found out now that he is your son. This person is probably my father's ex-wife. Jiangshin is the child she brought with her. The sky is getting darker and darker, and the first snow of winter finally fell on the earth. At this moment, I looked up at the falling snow, and suddenly remembered that last winter, when the first snow fell, Jiangshin stood downstairs and made a snowman for me. 3. Jiangshin nodded. 2 big ones, 1 small one. My face turned red, and I chased him and beat him. Okay, Jiangshin, you are shameless. Jiangshin was pinched by the ear, and smiled and begged for mercy. Okay, I won't say anything. I will listen to a yen. I squatted in front of Jiangshin's tombstone, holding the snow, and made 3 pocket snowmen, 2 big ones, 1 small one. I pointed at the 3 of them. Jiangshin, look, you, me, and him. My parents were waiting for me outside the door. A yen, it's time to go. I wiped my tears and touched the tombstone again. I can't always run here in the future. Don't worry, I will keep you in my heart. 13. Jiangshin's monologue. When did I know that a yen was back too? Probably when she huddled in the corner and hid the pregnancy test stick in the trash can. I was always worried that she would be retaliated against. Therefore, after lurking for many years and winning a great victory, I decided to marry her. But this kind of thing does not mean that the world will be peaceful after a group of people die. There were fish that slipped through the net and attacked me and Ian. I died on the way to the wedding. A steel barb pierced through me and nailed me to death in the car. At that time, I was only 1 kilometer away from the wedding scene. When I died, I didn't even dare to look in the direction of Ian, for fear that they would smell the smell and find Ian waiting at the wedding scene. I always thought that rebirth was a gift from God to me. He used the inevitable death to remind me to think of a way out for Ian as soon as possible. When I was reborn, I stood outside the toilet door. I still remember this day clearly, because a few minutes later, Ian would run out of it happily and tell me that she was pregnant. In these few minutes, I was ready to say
Goodbye
to Ian, and even thought of the words to persuade her to abort the child. This sentence will be like a knife piercing her heart. Just like in the previous life, I hesitated for a moment, and she was unhappy. Will she be beaten if I let her have an abortion now? 3 minutes, like a year, passed in a flash, and there was silence inside. What's wrong? I suddenly had a bad premonition, pushed the door open, and saw a yen huddled in the corner. The moment our eyes met, I saw the desperate feeling of brokenness, my heart tightened, and my scalp numbed instantly. They found a yen. I used to protect a yen very well. No one, even if they dissected my body, could find a yen's trace, but a yen still died. She was reborn in a small bathroom, like an abandoned child, hiding the pregnancy test stick in the trash can, and planned to face everything by herself. Why is this happening? I can't figure it out, but there is another way to go. I hope it won't be too late. A yen didn't move. I wanted to hug her, but I held back. I couldn't give her a little hope. The wall built with despair will become something to protect her in the future. In fact, I couldn't bear to let her go. Ian's 24th birthday is coming. In my previous life, I missed her birthday because of a special mission. Later, she was angry and had a cold war with me. She didn't talk to me for about a week. I have less and less time with her, and I don't want to do it again this time. So when the mission was over, I said to Changwon, yesterday was Ian's birthday. Then let's make up for it. Changwon took off her makeup and wrapped herself in the leather coat given by his family's Lao Fong. There is a cake shop on Wonsan Street. The taste is good. Lao Fong bought it from there for my birthday last time. Changwon is preparing to have a child recently, so he is ready to retreat to the second line. It will be safer in the rear. I hesitated for a moment and said, I'll take you to see a yen. I'll have to trouble you to take care of her in the future. Changwon glanced at me and smiled. You know it's unlucky to say this, right? It's like telling me about your last wishes. Yen was not at home that day. I knew she went to the hospital. Every day I waited for her to miscarry was torture. It was like a machete hanging over my head. You knew it would fall, but you didn't know when. At night, Yen was in a bad mood. She didn't want to see me. In fact, this is good. It would be best if she kicked me out and left in style, but when I thought about it, I felt as if I was pressed into the water and couldn't breathe at all. Changwon stared at the cake for a while. The boss wrapped a ribbon around you. What's wrong? He only gives it to female customers. I thought about it. Oh, I was in a hurry when I went there, and the boss didn't have time to make a new one. So he sold me a cake that was not sold. Changwon rolled his eyes at me. Men always don't understand what women are calculating about. You have to think carefully about our next plan. She was referring to the final round of the net, which was very dangerous, and a single move could affect the entire body. In my previous life, even after catching them all in one fell swoop, I still suffered a tragic revenge. This time, I have more clues.
Yeah.
I know. The wine spread in my mouth, astringent and bitter. I pointed to the closed bedroom door and sighed. Can't bear it. Changwon chuckled. Just this time. It will get better in the future. Yes, take your time. A yen will get better. Changwon left, and she was not in a good mood today. I heard that her husband Fong was injured recently. Colleagues always laugh at them. One is a drug enforcement officer, the other is a criminal police officer. The whole Smiths of the police world. I was thinking about my next plan when the bedroom door opened and Ian came out. She didn't eat much tonight. I remember that every time I saw her, she looked very sad. Maybe girls are very sensitive to the upcoming separation. I want to celebrate her last birthday. I haven't said my blessing yet. I want to wish her to live to be 100 years old, then I will leave. Look, it's so much like what a scumbag would do. But before I lit the candles, Ian exploded. She followed me. This is the first time I got angry with Ian. Does she know that just because Lao Zhang's son called him dad on the street, the family was in trouble? How dare she? I solemnly warned her not to do this next time, and Ian smashed the cake to pieces and yelled at me. It's not her fault. From a normal person's perspective, Such behavior is undoubtedly the leader of the scumbag world. Things were so bad that they could not be salvaged. In fact, I thought about it seriously. What else needed to be salvaged? Should I tell her the truth and let Ian take our 4-month-old child to die together? I slowly flattened the report sheet, put it on the table, and said, I can't marry you. In fact, I knew every word on the report sheet by heart. I had read it over and over again in the middle of the night. With my eyes closed, I could imagine what our child looked like. Ian was deeply hurt. She stood at the door, carrying a suitcase. Jiangshan, I have suffered enough retribution. Let's break up. After she left, I sat on the steps in front of the building and lit a cigarette. The spicy taste filled my lungs and made me feel much better. I have confidence that Ian will live a good life. When my mother took me to marry Ian's father, they loved each other to death. Later, my mother died in the line of duty. Ian's father got together with someone else 3 years later, and then Ian was born. I was really upset. I wanted to see why someone who loved my mother so much would have a child with someone else. I saw the 3 of them living a peaceful life downstairs in a residential building in a community. I realized that people always go to the place where there is light. Ian's father is. Ian in the future will be too. I followed Ian for 2 weeks. Finally, the day came when she went to the hospital. I heard from Changwon that abortion is very harmful to a girl's body. I was worried and walked around outside the hospital. When I accompanied Ian for prenatal checkups, she laughed at me. You are so anxious now. When I go in to give birth in the future, won't you be scared to death? I wore the jacket that Ian bought for me, and I still smelled the laundry detergent she bought. She said it was called Freesia. After waiting for several days, she was hospitalized. I was anxious because I heard that abortion also has risks. What if Ian had an accident later? I saw Ian. Her face was very pale, without a trace of blood. She was so thin that she looked like she could be blown away by the wind. Ian came over and put the report into my hand, choking and saying, I aborted the baby. It felt like someone was cutting me with a knife. I held the report tightly, lowered my head, and finally couldn't hold back my tears. I told her not to contact me in the future. Very good. Ian didn't jump down. That's how it should be. She walked away without looking back. Changwon finally had a child with Lao Fong, and was overjoyed. When he met me, he came over to talk excitedly. I suppressed my emotions and walked over. Go back. When I passed the corner, I waited until Ian was helped into the car, and then I turned around, facing Changwon's cold eyes. Are you sick? Is it necessary to treat her like this? Do I have any other choice? I asked back. We can't say a word about what we did. Should I tell her that I have cancer? Changwon moved his lips and refuted weakly. Cancer is better than torturing her like this. She is only 24, I said, half dead. If I don't let her give up, how will she live with a child without a father for the rest of her life? Changwon didn't say anything else. She never wanted to talk about death. I didn't want to either. But when I was really buried in the accident, and the last moment I opened my eyes, I realized that from it was my biggest wish that I had not met Ian. It was the end of November soon. I always dreamed about Ian recently. I dreamed that she got married and had a happy family. Maybe it was cold, and I always dreamed about something to resist the cold winter in the South City. That night, I saw a gentian by the window. I bought it when I passed by the flower shop. When it was cold, I kept it in the greenhouse. I took good care of it, but it didn't survive. The lace was burnt and wilted. Tomorrow is the day we were supposed to get married. I booked a venue in the original place, used Ian's design, and bought the ring she liked. I really want to marry her. If nothing unexpected happened that day, she would have become my lover now. We also have a 4-month-old child. I called Ian. A hoarse voice came from the other end of the receiver. Jiangshan. I just listened to her breathing quietly and finally hung up the phone. November 29th. I went to the wedding scene. This is the first time I have worn a formal suit and walked through the corridor to the end. I have never seen a yen wearing a wedding dress. She said she wanted to give me a surprise, so now, I can only rely on my imagination. I have been holding the ring box in my pocket. It has body temperature. I have been with a yen for 5 years, but in the end, I couldn't even put the ring on her. It's really a pity. In fact, I really want to say a few more words, but suddenly I received a call, just now. Lao Fong was gone. It is said that in order to retaliate against Changwon, they directly attacked Lao Fong and several brothers around him, trying to lure Changwon out. The action has changed and it has to be advanced. Before leaving, I seemed to suddenly hear a yen crying, but it seemed to be an illusion. Maybe I won't be able to come back this time. November 30th. Deal. The drug dealers were more difficult than we thought. They asked me to test the drugs. I tried it and my whole body was twitching and I was foaming at the mouth. Actually, I was most afraid of this. December 1st, they relaxed their vigilance and the plan went smoothly. December 2nd, something was wrong, I was exposed. It was outrageous that the tortures of ancient times could still be seen in modern times. December 4th, there was no good meat left. They tortured me and repeatedly asked me where my family and colleagues were. I didn't say a word, Ian. I couldn't even think about it. She was probably still studying. Study hard, Ian. I still want to see you study for a master's degree. December 6th. I might be dying soon. Blood was all over the floor. I was shaking all over, and I didn't feel warm. Ian, dress warmly. I guess besides the fact that I bled dry, it was actually related to the weather. When they were watching TV at night, I heard that it would rain tomorrow. Remember to bring an umbrella. December 9th. It should be the 9th. I don't know, the person opposite was playing with a knife and cursing. Damn, this guy is so stubborn, just cut him off. I glared at him and saw him coming over with a knife. Ian, oh, December 12th. I'm blind now, I can see everything. On the contrary, I can see Ian's face at any time. It's double 12, Ian wants to stock up. I seem to hear her nagging me about the sanitary napkins sale, 40 off for every 300. She likes to get a discount, but it's not right. I want to say, can you use up all that? Don't put two expensive ones together, it's not worth it. It's really annoying. I have to go. Before leaving, I said
Goodbye.
to Ian. She cried like a baby. He's just a man. There's no need. Come here. Give me a hug. I said. Ian rushed over, crying. I won't let you go. You're not beautiful when you cry. Our Ian is the most beautiful when she smiles. Then I'll smile for you. Will you stay? Look, I'm not crying. I'm smiling. Ian, I touched my face regretfully. I haven't celebrated your birthday yet, and it may be too late now. I want to wish you a happy 100th birthday in advance. No, don't be 100 years old. I don't want to be 100 years old. I actually wanted to say this to her. I'm sorry, Yen. I'm a policeman, unfortunately. She can't hear it, and I hope she will never hear it, and be an ordinary person obediently. I'm not afraid of death. I'm just afraid that Yen will live without me. I hugged her, and finally touched her head. And said, be good, marry someone else. December 13th, my colleagues came, they pushed me up and pointed a gun at me. The sea breeze smelled salty and gunshots were heard. At the last moment, I seemed to see the blue sky, as clean as Ian's skirt. Damn it, the drug dealers must die. 14. 40 years later, Xiao Wei is a caregiver at a nursing home in the South City's seaside. After graduation, she was admitted here with great difficulty, after just half a month of work. She memorized the rules and regulations by heart. The director said that all the elderly people here are those who have lost their only child. For those who have no children, the relevant departments will send them here to ensure that they can spend their old age in peace. Among them, the old lady in 101, Building B, should be paid special attention to. The old lady has depression. It is said that her husband died when she was young, and she had a child, but she also miscarried. She has lived for more than 40 years and refused to remarry. When the relevant departments sent people here, the name given was Ian, without a surname. She has also seen people whose names are a string of codes. Generally, the origins of such people cannot be asked too much. Xiao Wei knocked on the door of 101 and whispered, Grandma Ian, are you up? The door opened from the inside, and an old man in a wheelchair sat quietly at the door. His eyes were dark, hidden behind his wrinkled skin. As if he had seen a lot of wind and frost, Grandma Ian kept a lot of flowers and plants in her house. When she talked to people, she would smile, and she didn't look depressed at all. Xiao Wei noticed the ring on her hand again. From today's perspective, it was so tacky, but it should have been the most fashionable style at that time, and it was very expensive. Ian made way for Xiao Wei to enter the house. She was very careful and didn't even dare to look Grandma Ian in the eye when she spoke. Because not long ago, Grandma Ian was diagnosed with a brain tumor, glioblastoma, stage 4, extremely malignant. Even after removal, it will relapse in a short time. People will become more and more stupid and their memory will become worse and worse. She had no children, so no one signed for her. A few years ago, when she was still conscious, she signed the agreement to refuse any rescue and treatment. Xiao Wei clearly remembers the expression on the dean's face when he said this. She is alive. But she is actually suffering. Logically, without active treatment, depression will become more serious. But Grandma Ian has been living well. Xiao Wei couldn't figure out why. She once had a boyfriend who she had been in love with for 5 years. But later they went their separate ways because of different life plans after graduation. Long-lasting love is like an ancient myth. myths are things that don't exist. When Xiaowei was packing up, she found an old smartphone in the drawer. The system was already difficult to run. There are not many websites from more than 40 years ago that can be opened. She who has been active until now. She knew she shouldn't see the grandma's privacy, but she accidentally turned on the screen and saw it. This month, my grandchildren came to visit me. My memory is getting worse and worse, Mr. Jay and I live in a nursing home, and he pushes me to see the sea every day. We have been seeing the sea for 40 years, someone else commented below, saying that one or two young people were disappointed. The children are not filial at all. How can they be sent to a nursing home? The elderly who lost their only child are so pitiful. The most recent one was a few minutes ago. Dress up beautifully today and go to see Mr. J. Xiaowei had a strange feeling, but she couldn't tell why. When she turned around, she found that the room was empty. Cold sweat broke out all of a sudden. The first rule of the rules and regulations. The person being cared for must not be out of sight. Xiaowei stumbled out of the room and called her colleagues in panic. The incident alarmed the director. The surveillance footage was urgently retrieved, and it was found that Grandma Ayan drove her wheelchair by herself from the small gravel road at the back door to the vast sea behind the nursing home. There was a steep cliff there. Everyone rushed out. At this time, half an hour had passed since Grandma Ayan left. The dean had already thought about how to write the resignation letter, but fortunately, Grandma Ayan had no relatives at home and would not ask for compensation. At the end of June, the warmth of summer had not yet completely filled the seaside. The cool breeze blew from the sea, the sun was shining brightly, and it was a good day. Xiaowei was running in the front. On the bare cliff, a small wheelchair was parked on the edge of the cliff, facing the sea. Grandma Ayan sat quietly inside, and the old pearl earrings on her ears sparkled in the sun. She was wearing bright clothes, a bit like the popular dressing style of the 2020s. The skinny arms stretched out from the lotus leaf sleeves and were placed in front of her decently. Xiaowei breathed a sigh of relief and trotted over. Grandma Ayan, be sure to tell me when you go out next time. She walked closer and found that Grandma Ayan was still looking ahead and ignored her. Although Grandma Ayan used to have slow reactions due to her brain disease, she would still respond when her name was called. Xiaowei slowly stopped. At that moment, for some reason, she felt like crying as she looked at the vast coastline. She slowly put her hand on Grandma's shoulder. Her body felt a little cold. Xiaowei had seen many elderly people who had passed away. Grandma Ayan left quietly on a sunny morning, facing the sea. This year, she was 64 years old, died of cancer. The dean and others followed behind, and as if they sensed something, they slowly stopped. Behind them, on the 4-story khaki campus, there was a banner that had just been posted yesterday. 6/26 International Day Against Drug Abuse. Cherish life, stay away from drugs, and pay tribute to all the anti-drug police officers fighting on the front line. The director suddenly remembered the day when Grandma Ayan came. She asked herself, who had just taken office for 3 years, today is International Day Against Drug Abuse, can we put up the banner? 15. Ayan's postscript, a few months after Jiangshan passed away, Changwen dragged me down from the top floor. She yelled, you are crazy. If you die, how can I explain to Jiangshan? I collapsed on the ground and said, he came to see me before he died. Changwen said, what you think about during the day, you dream about at night. The person is gone, look forward, live well. I seemed not to hear it, and continued, he was on the deck, his left hand was injured. With one sentence, Changwen cried, I knew I was right. When I saw Jiangshan, there was only a box of ashes. I am afraid that he can't even find a complete body. So that day, Jiangshan really came to say
goodbye
to me. I was very calm and said to her, Changwen, do you believe that there are souls in the world? Changwen choked up, I hope so, because her husband also died that year. She said, I have a mission, so I can't die. Yen, you have to find your mission. Yes, I have to find my mission. Besides death, there are more meaningful things. From then on, I gave up the idea of death and joined a propaganda organization. I have been working for 30 years. Jiangshan must be watching me. I can't let his hard work go to waste. My parents urged me to get married again, and several times, they even tried to take the ring from my hand. During the dispute, I hit my head, blood was pouring out. My father was so angry that he shouted, people die, and the living have to continue to live. Look at what you have become. What have I become? I am healthy, gentle, and a law-abiding citizen. Is it wrong to just not want to love another person? I don't want them to understand me, and they don't want to understand me either. So, my parents kept urging me for decades, but gradually, they got old and couldn't urge me anymore. Later, they passed away, and I was the only one left in the world. Quietly, I kept updating that post, but fewer and fewer people read it. Young people like passionate, unrestrained and short-lived love, a bit like us back then. In the post, Jiang Xin and I will have a happy and fulfilling second half of our lives, children and grandchildren are around us. And the country is peaceful. Sometimes I look at the ring and keep thinking about what Jiang Xin said to me when he stood at the wedding scene that winter. In my previous life, I waited at the end, and in this life, Jiang Xin took the ring and put it on my ring finger. Why is it not considered a marriage? I lived for more than 30 years, and one morning, when I went downstairs to buy vegetables, I fell down the stairs and broke my leg. After the operation, I couldn't walk anymore. Later, they sent me to a nursing home, close to the sea. People say that people who come to nursing homes are pitiful, lonely, and unloved, but I don't think so. This is the place where I am closest to Jiangxin. Since I got brain cancer, my memory has been getting worse and worse. But only Jiangxin's face has gradually become clearer. He often sits next to me and chats with me. Ian, flowers are not planted like this. People say that lazy people grow flowers. You will water them to death. I retorted to him, people who look at flowers should not talk. Or when I was eating, he started to mutter again, you should eat some meat. Don't be picky, your health is not good. Sometimes I was annoyed by his nagging and would quarrel with him. Occasionally, when I was sober, I realized that those were just memories of my life with him in the past. This year, I am 64 years old. Since Jiangxin died at the age of 24, I have worked hard to live for another 40 years. I have done many meaningful things. This morning, my mind was rare to be sober for a long time. The sea breeze blew in from the window, and I missed him a little. Xiaowei turned her back to me and packed her things. I wanted to go see the sea. I walked through the pebbled road, pushing the wheelchair, and sweating. When I reached the top of the mountain, the warm sun was hanging high, the blue sea was vast and boundless. I opened my mouth and called out a name that I hadn't called out for more than 40 years, Jiangxin. He appeared, still as young as he was, with scattered black hair and gentle eyes. When he smiled, his eyes were full of me. He held my skinny hand, squatted in front of the wheelchair, and opened his arms. I smiled. Am I beautiful today? Very beautiful. My body suddenly became very light. I stood up from the wheelchair, and my slender and white arm held Jiangxin's arm. And the diamond ring on my ring finger was as bright as before. I lifted my wedding dress and laughed. I'm wearing high heels, you must hold me. Okay. Jiangxin looked at me with gentle eyes. A seagull flew by in the distance. Jiangxin and I held hands. We looked like a couple who were about to enter the marriage hall, facing the warm sun. Ian, let's go home.